Hello, illustration class. This is Jerry Visick. It seems that the welcome video that I made, there was a problem, technically speaking, where it didn't all get recorded. So I'm recording another one here, and I really hope that this one works. My apologies for what happened. So in this recording, what I'm going to go over, the Canvas shell, and I'm going to go over the first assignment. So in the shell, whether you're in 620 or you're in 621, which is second semester, you'll click your course and go to the shell. And I'll have this video uploaded by the end of today, which is Tuesday the 8th. But when you're in here in the Canvas shell, once you find your course, you're going to see home, announcements, assignments, Zoom, discussions. Here's your syllabus. But one of the main things I want to point out is modules. So we can get to the modules here, or you can do it here by clicking the image. Both classes, there's an image you can click. Then it takes you week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, etc. As we move through, these modules will be published. So this first module, in both sections, there's course contact. And right off the top there, I have my office hour. It's Thursdays from 4 to 5, and there's the link, goes straight to the office hour. And then my response to emails, I'll respond to emails on a daily basis, Monday through Thursday, but may respond a little slower on the weekends. Please be sure to email me through our Canvas show. Email me here so I get your email right away. So I can, if emails are sent to my district email, which is here, I get about, I'm not exaggerating, maybe 100 emails a day in there, and most of them don't have anything to do with me or what I'm doing. It can be some announcement about a bathroom being painted on another campus. So email me through here always. So you go to the inbox, and then you go, this little icon here, you can write, and you select your course, whether you're 620 or 621. And send to the teacher, which is me, Jerry, and the subject classwork, and then you can write your email and send it. It'll show up right there for me. It'll show up right there. But please do it through Canvas. Sometimes a student will send me an email and I didn't get it, and right away it's because it got lost in my other box in my district email, which is besides the the so-called important box. Okay, so there's that. Then back to, see, we can go to modules here or here. I can click this guy or this. In illustration 2, it's a different image, but it's still an image you click. So modules are here or here. So back to modules. Student resources. Now this is just a link to student resources for Pierce College. Icebreaker is something everybody's got to do, and I don't know if anybody's done it yet. I have to refresh this. So with the icebreaker, oh, there we go. Ingrid has a picture of herself in there. I asked you to do a couple of things. I asked you to embed a photo, and so no links, folks, please. The reason is we're going to be embedding our images all semester, so no links. So we're going to embed a photo, and you're going to tell us a little something about yourselves. So here's all the questions from the icebreaker, and then it says please embed a photo of yourself as well as telling us something about yourselves. We'll be embedding images in our assignments all semester in discussions and assignments, so it's important to learn how to do this. And it says this is me. So that's me in Morro Bay. And to reply to any discussion, because we're going to have discussions all semester. That's where we're submitting the work so we can all look at it and talk about it. So to reply to any discussion, I list the discussion. In this case, it's icebreaker. Then you just reply to me. When you click reply, text box opens. And there you can start typing. So let's do that again. Let's cancel this. Any discussion, the instructions are there. You click reply. right here, whenever you're going to put new work in. So you can say, hi there, you know, my name is da 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 da. And I da 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 da. But then to upload the image, now this is very, very important. So make all of you, I hope you're paying attention to this. Please take notes, by the way, because this is like a lecture, right? So to embed an image, we can go two places. This is the quick place to go. We just go upload image. Also over here, we've got insert. You know, for other classes, maybe you want to insert media or a link or, you know, equation, tables, you know, whatever it may be. You have all these options. But for us, all we need is this one, which is already there. So here's insert, there's image. Here's image. Oh, stop it. Here's image, upload image. So I'm going to embed. I wrote hi there. I you know, hit return so it goes lower. I'm going to upload an image. And I'm going to go to my photos. And I don't know what some of those photos are. That's weird. This is me standing on a beach in Kabul. So not only have I said, hi there, I'm Jerry Visick, da 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 da, I've embedded the photo. So it's in there. I don't have to click a link. If it's too large, I think that's too large. Right here, these three little dots are like called snowmen. No, not there, excuse me. Not there. No, disregard what I just said. You can, after you've embedded it, before you've clicked post reply, you can highlight your photo just by clicking it. Unclick it, click it. And you can drag one of these little squares, bloop, right over there, and post reply. So, so you see mine comes in down here because I was the last to reply. So listen, if you put in a link, you didn't do anything wrong, but please come in and remedy this so we don't, you know, we don't have the link. I didn't explain it well. Hey, there you are, Jesse, with your doggy. Jasmine. I didn't explain it well enough, in the old welcome video. So the instructions weren't there, but now they're there. And I think, Cameron, this will upload eventually. I think that's just a problem on my computer. I think that will upload because it looks like you embedded a JPEG. But no links, please. Okay. Back over here. Let's go back home. The welcome video, which is the old one, that's 2 minutes and 44 seconds, I'm going to get rid of and upload the new one. But back to modules. So we have the icebreaker. This is open until February 24th. I'm keeping it open that long. And once February 24th passes, you can't submit to the icebreaker anymore and you won't get credit for it. Your discussions will be graded collectively as one project, and all of the discussions, in order to get 100% in your discussions, you have to respond to every discussion and be able to embed an image. So the embedded image in this case, in future discussions, would be, like here's one now, thumbnails for perspective project. So when you get to that, you'll read the instructions, embed your thumbnail for the perspective project, and comment on at least one of your classmates' thumbnails with analytical observations about what is working or not working and why. Full credit cannot be earned if comments aren't included. But the comments have to be analytical observations. And if it's working or not working, tell us why. This is not a cheerleading forum here. You can tell somebody, hey, wonderful work, but why is it wonderful work? Do you like their composition? Do you like their perspective? Do you like the value contrast? Whatever the case may be, the subject matter, the narrative, explain why you like it. Don't just say, I like it. You won't get credit for that. You only get half credit for the discussion. Don't say, cool, way to go, love your work. Okay, you can say that, but tell us why. And you guys are scholars, you're in college. Analytical observations, really discussing looking at the work, making observations. Okay, let's go back to modules. We have the compositional rules video, which I want everyone to watch. This was made by a colleague of mine, a dear friend of mine, Mark Koppenetz. And what he's going over here primarily is how to make good compositions and how to make bad compositions. And there's a lot of explanation he does in here, explaining, what works and what doesn't work. He talks about symmetrical versus asymmetrical balance. He talks how this is more interesting versus this. He talks about this head against the tree creates a tangent. So we never want the head touching the tree, either overlapping it or not touching it. So he talks a whole lot about what works and what doesn't work in composition. And we'll be talking about composition all semester long. So please watch that. Then we've got, before I go to the perspective assignment, here's where your thumbnails will go. And then here's some lectures. These lectures here are put in there just to help you. There's a presupposition that in drawing one that you learn perspective. If you're like me, I learned it in drawing one, but then I didn't really retain it. So I get it. So here I have lectured on how to draw rooms in 1 and 2 point. Ooh, come on, Jerry. And by the way, my name's Jerry Visick. You guys can call me Jerry. So here I am rambling on and on about how to do 1 point rooms, how to do 2 point rooms. And it's real thorough in explaining the process. Take advantage of these resources. Perspective lectures. Let's look at that one. This one's a few years ago, and a student of mine at Santa Monica College, where I also teach, was in my Tuesday class, and she asked if she could come to my Friday class and record my perspective lecture. So she did. So these you can just kind of pick and choose through here, but it's all about how to draw 1 and 2 point boxes, which is critical to understand, and how to draw 1 and 2 point rooms. So all that's in there. Lots and lots of resources in there. I've also got perspective box lecture. If you don't know how to draw boxes, transparent boxes, you want to learn, because when you're going to draw a building or furniture or anything, it all starts with the box. So I go on in here explaining how to do 1 point boxes. You get to see my dog a lot of times. How to use the T-square. How to do 2 point boxes I get to. There's 2 point boxes. And I explain how it's done step by step. I explain how to use the T-square. And we've got boxes above eye level, below eye level, and some that are bottoms below eye level, the tops above eye level, like if you saw a building across the street. So if you don't know how to do boxes, before you do the assignment, practice boxes. Because one of the most important things about boxes is, let's say you're going to put a table on a floor of a room you're doing, and it's in 2 point like this. If you do that, your table's essentially finished except for the detail. I mean, you'll get rid of this bottom plane, but you got a tabletop and 4 legs, right? Then you can put any detail you want in. If you're going to do a mattress on the floor in 2 point, there's the box to build it in. If this was a stereo speaker or something. So understanding how to draw boxes is so important in terms of eye level, but also form. We want to make things look 3-dimensional rather than flat and 2-dimensional. So the understanding the boxes and the 6 sides to a transparent box helps us understand form. You can put anything in a box. You can put a rhinoceros in there. If he's standing straight, you know where his feet would go. You'd see a little bit of the top of him, the front, the back, the top, sides, bottom. So that's another great resource. It'll take you a little time to go through these perspective lectures, but I promise you, if you go through what you need to do, because you're going to be using 1 or 2 point perspective. So depending on the project, you want to look for these lectures and look for specific areas of the lectures to help you. Important stuff. You guys are scholars, so who needs Netflix when you can watch perspective lectures? I'm kind of I'm serious there, really. I mean, you're involved in your scholarly pursuits. You're in college, man. You know, you're in higher education. We don't want to take it for granted. Okay, here I talk about how to approach thumbnails. Now, thumbnails are just small preliminary drawings of a finished work of art. I'm drinking coffee if you hear weird noises. When doing thumbnails, it's a good idea to draw multiple ideas for settings on one page. So this would be like if you're messing around with thumbnails, a 1-point room, 2-point outside, 2-point inside, 3-point buildings. So you're just playing around on a sheet of paper with thumbnails. So when one idea is decided upon, like you're going to use one of these for your project. When one idea is decided upon, copy that same image onto one sheet multiple times by scanning it or using a copier so it doesn't have to be redrawn every time a thumbnail needs to be reworked. So I took this one and multiplied it 4 times on a sheet of paper. So if I'm putting subject matter in here and I don't like it, I don't have to draw this room all over again. I can just come over here and rearrange it. And again, and again. And so it's a good idea to have one master copy of this in case you need more sheets. One master copy with nothing on it. So just, a piece of print paper, you can put the 4 thumbnails in. Okay. Multiple pages can even be made of the same thumbnail to work many ideas in the same setting. So that's what I was just referring to. So what do we have below? Multiple thumbnails on one page, different ideas. Then a 1-point thumbnail. 1-point perspective, multiple 1-point thumbnails of the same image. Then I have a 2-point thumbnail. There we go. And what do I have here? Multiple thumbnails of the same image. So it saves you time to multiply your little thumbnail drawing. It's not a detailed drawing, but it saves you time to do this so you don't have to keep drawing the room itself over and over. Okay, moving along. So we got through course context, student resources, icebreaker, compositional rules video. We haven't gotten here yet. Thumbnails, perspective room lectures, how to approach thumbnails. And there will be there's a discussion in here that is where is it? Let me look for discussions and find the one. So the discussion that you'll be doing will be thumbnails for perspective projects. So I'm going to copy that. Bear with me. I'll get this. So you can always find it in discussions too, but I want to add something to this. So I'm going to add discussion. You get to see behind the scenes stuff here. Where to go? This is annoying. Oh, thumbnails for perspective project. There you go. Add item. So it's right there. So what that is you want to do a thumbnail for the first project, which I'm about to introduce. Please embed your thumbnail for the perspective project and comment on at least one of your classmates' thumbnails with analytical observations about what is working or not working and why. Full credit cannot be earned if comments aren't included. So you'll reply to me and you'll pop your thumbnail in there. You'll say, here we go again, upload image, find another photo. Here's my wife and I. We were just married in November. So that's not my thumbnail, okay? I'm just showing you once again how to upload an image. So, come on, picture of me and my wife. So there it is, and it's too big. It's too big, damn it. So I'm going to click it and drag this and post. And then there's me and my wife, Lily. So once again, I showed you how to embed an image. So instead of embedding an image of yourselves, let's delete this. instead of embedding an image of yourselves or you and your significant or unsignificant other, you're going to you're going to take a picture of your thumbnail and put it in there. Let's look at last semester for a minute. So we're going to go to fall 2021. Here we go, illustration. So discussions. And one of the discussions was this first one, thumbnails for perspective project. So students started putting in their thumbnails, as crude or developed as they were. In order for me to be able to help, you got to put something in there. So this person put this thumbnail in for the start of their project. This person put multiple thumbnails. This person put this thumbnail in. So these are the beginning stages of the first project. This person's playing around with different ideas. Here's somebody came up with 4 different thumbnails to decide what to do with, etc., etc. That was for a second semester project, so that's a different project than first semester is working on. So that's where you put the thumbnails. I'm not telling you all these thumbnails are good ideas, so don't look at these and go, oh, I'm going to do what they did. Some of these are great, and some of these are still very crude and got developed further as the weeks went by on this project. So that's kind of what's happening to begin with. So back to our modules. This better be recording, for God's sakes. Back to our modules. Thumbnails for perspective project. There. Okay, and it is open until, let's look at how long it's open. It is open until February 17th at 11 a.m. So a week from Thursday. 9 more days. Because we'll be submitting stuff every Thursday, whether thumbnails or finished projects. So that's that. Okay, back to modules. Everything's in the modules, right? Dry brush. Now, if you're in second semester, you have to do color all semester. First semester does black and white. And it explains that in the syllabi, depending on what section you're in. If you're going to paint, sometimes people are like, I've never painted before. And whether it's watercolor, gouache, or oil, or what have you, acrylic, I don't care what medium you use. You can use markers if you know what you're doing with them. I don't want anyone using colored pencil because it takes way too long to do it well. It can take months to make a good colored pencil drawing. So dry brush. This is a little video I did on how to do dry brush, how to surface preparation for acrylic demo, palette prep for acrylic demo, and then actual acrylic dry brush demo. So you can click any one of these and just kind of be taken in here where this one I'm actually painting and explaining how I'm painting it. And then I have some examples of dry brush stuff I've done in the past. That's a little large, isn't it? Let's make that a little smaller. Some dry brush paintings I've done in the past. Some of these were class demos. Some of them are just pieces that I made. And dry brush, the reason I put that in there is because it's an incredibly efficient way to work. And anybody that struggles with painting, if you follow the instructions closely. You know, I'm talking second semester folks who are going to paint. Unless you're going to use some other technique. You know, follow the instructions closely, practice it a little bit, and you'll find you can paint with relative ease with this technique. These are a bunch of my images here. There's another one. That was an in-class demo. Right there at Peters College, I did that. So how to achieve these types of paintings, you know, with this effect is the demo for that is right there. Okay. In first semester, your first project's going to be in pencil first semester. I'm going to get to that when I introduce the project. The first project's going to be in graphite, pencil. But every project after that can be in any black and white medium you choose, whether it's pen and ink, or it is black and white acrylic dry brush, or it is charcoal. So we'll get to that. Okay. So dry brush. Value contrast as it pertains to color. Now this is important, folks, because all semester we're going to be dealing with value contrast. That means darks, lights, and middle tones, and all the ranges between all of them. So value contrast as it pertains to color. The images below are of the same illustration. This painting was done in color, but when it is switched to a grayscale, we can clearly see the differences in value. So let's say you did it in black and white, this one. You can see everything. Why can you see everything? So it says we can clearly see the difference in values. Value contrast is important whether we're working in color or black and white. And when using color, we must be conscious of what value each color is. So what that means is if you're working in black and white, if you have the background, the same value, light or dark, as this guy, he disappears. If he was the same value as this hill, he disappears. If his pants were the exact same value as the ground, his pants disappear. So value contrast with what we do is all about juxtapositions of values. In order for us to see something, we can't surround it with the same value, the same light, middle, or dark. So this student was in third semester when he did this, and he understood the value contrast well enough. He did a little thumbnail. This is the actual piece in grayscale. He did a thumbnail figuring out all his values. Then he made his colors match his values. So he knew what he was doing. So whether you're in color or black and white, we have to think about what values are surrounding what. First semester works in black and white all semester. I can make exceptions for the last project, possibly. It's a big, how should I put it? It doesn't happen too often. I let people work in color on the second to last project too, but I have made exceptions. Illustration 1's never required to work in color throughout the semester though. Okay. There's Canvas support, which I talked about. There's some technical support. And there's your thumbnails for Perspective Project. I think I got all that covered, right? There's that. Good. So you gotta do something about this before next Thursday, not this coming Thursday. Okay. Perspective assignment. So if you're in 621, you're here in this section, and this is your shell. But a lot of you click this one to go to your modules. But a lot of what's happening in the shells are identical in both classes. So that's why I'm primarily sticking with the 620 right now. So back to modules. You guys tired of me yet? Perspective project. Now, the perspective project, the assignment sheet, perspective assignment, it's everything for 620 and 621 is explained. We have no 622 this semester, so I'm speaking to these two sections. So pay attention whether you are in 620 or you're in 621, 622, because it's a little different requirements. Illustration 1, you will need, when you start finishing the piece, so you maybe not start on the actual piece for another week or two, because this thing's not due, this assignment is due on March 3rd. So we have a lot of time to work on it. But let's cancel that. But you might not need the boards right away, but get the boards. Try to have the boards by next week. I'll get to the supplies here in a minute with the syllabus. So you're going to need a 15 by 20 inch cold press illustration board. Various pencils. Now the pencils I suggest you get for this is I'm talking to illustration 1 here right now. Various pencils. Let's say if you get 4H, 2H, HB, 2B, 3B, and 4B, you can do this entire assignment with that group of pencils. I'll explain it all in a little bit. If you don't know what these pencils are about, HB is right in the middle. It's like the yellow pencil you have with the eraser on the end that you use in math classes and other classes. It's not too dark, it's not too light. So they categorize this, the powers that be in the pencil making world. H signifies hard. So the harder the graphite, this goes up to 9H, 10H. The harder the graphite, the lighter the lines. So we don't pick up a dark pencil and draw very, very lightly to get light lines when we're doing technical work. We use lighter pencils. Now, as you go this direction, so this means hard and soft. So actually they have H for hard, but B for black. I don't know why they didn't have HS, for soft, but once again, I'm not the person that determined this. So HB means hard and black, or hard and it's starting to get soft. 2B softer, 3B softer, 4B softer, and it can go, I think, to 12B. And you can get, you'll never get black with graphite, but it's an incredibly dark gray as you move higher up in the Bs. But you can get a lot of value contrast with just these. Let's save that. Here I am saving it. Then, hurry up and save. I don't know why things are moving so slow here. Erasers, you're going to need an eraser. You're going to need a T-square. Let's put that in there too. You're going to need a T-square, which I'll explain in a little bit. T-square. Illustration 2 and 3 students, board, same thing. Either acrylic paint, markers, or other color medium, and probably need a T-square. T-square. And then if you were in illustration 3, which none of you are, you have the option of working digitally. Unless if approved by the instructor beforehand, then everyone should use their imagination also. That's another requirement, your imagination. So when you do get to illustration 3, folks, if you were successful in illustration 2, and I feel as if you understood everything that I need you to learn about composition, color, value, perspective, I let illustration 3 students go digitally if they're prepared for it. So there's the materials. Here's the assignment. Thumbnail drawings of illustration determining values, perspective, composition, and subject matter must be improved before beginning the illustration or required in this assignment. So that's the thumbnails that I told you got to put in. I don't want you just to do the project. We want to see the process. They can be 5.5 by 7 or smaller as long as they're in ratio with the finished piece. Art 621, 622 students must do value and color studies before starting the piece. So the size of the piece is 11 by 14. So you got a 15 by 20 inch board, you got an 11 by 14 inch format. So let's go back here. What is 5.5 by 7? It's half of this, 50% of that. So if you do the thumbnail that size in that ratio, it will be in the same ratio as this, only this is twice as big. So you draw a room in 1 or 2 point perspective, your bedroom, living room, bathroom, hallway, etc. When you have this resolved, superimpose a fantasy scene or surrealist scene in the room. There should be some indication of narrative, either psychological or visual. So narrative doesn't necessarily have to be a concise sentence, this is happening. Sometimes an illustration does do that, but it can be the essence of it, that it's, spooky, or it's dangerous, or something's about to happen, or if a particular assignment asks for a particular narrative, you have to make sure you have the narrative in there. You'll determine a light source and figure out where all the darks, middles, lights, shadows, etc. will be in your thumbnails. When you've made a decision of how the entire piece will be, draw it with a 11 by 14 format on a 15 by 20 inch illustration board in graphite. An asymmetrically balanced composition is required. The values to be created entirely with cross-hatching. So I'm going to get to 622 here in a minute. So let's look here. These are, I better save this here. Save. I just want to look at these pencil drawings first because I'm speaking specifically to illustration 1. So when we look at these, we look at, here's somebody drew their room at home, and they did everything with cross hatching. And so in the room at home, they put these fish and this mermaid and this hole in the floor and made the ceiling be open, with these choppy edges. This student did a 2-point perspective drawing of their room at home, and all they have is the couch and some pictures and windows. But the student put a giant image of her son in the living room, then this foot coming in. There's your surrealism. She's working with scale. What is scale? Juxtapositions of sizes. So is the room small or is the boy big? So that creates some narrative, right? So it makes it fun. She did everything with cross-hatching. It's very refined, but everything with cross-hatching. And the balance of both of these is asymmetrical. So what does that mean? You don't have one big image right in the middle with everything to the right and left being of lesser importance than what's in the middle. You didn't cut your piece in half where you have the same thing on this side as this side. This is asymmetrically balanced. Still balanced, but it's asymmetrical. Asymmetrical means not centered, not cut in half. So you can see here, she's not dead center. And then the way these fish are put in here helps break up the symmetry. This one is a 1-point perspective room of a kitchen the student did with pigeons. And this is a wonderful piece, but it could have used more value contrast, even more dark and light than it has. It's a beautiful piece, but you can see it's not centered. And see how this guy kind of disappears because the values surrounding him are so similar? That's one of the things I was talking about. But stunning piece. I think the student went ahead. The student was very good. Went ahead and continued working on this after after the semester was over and added more value. The student took a corner of their living room and had this window there and had this poster there and this, these drawers, maybe it's their bedroom, this lamp. And then all this other stuff is her surrealism. Giant tongue coming in, very well cross-hatched, by the way, with saliva coming off and the salt shaker putting salt on the saliva, railroad tracks going into a mouse hole. And then she just nailed random things, apple core, fried egg, spatula on the wall. And then this is one of the characters she liked to draw, so that's there. Asymmetrical, the tongue's not dead center. The corner of the wall's not dead center. It's balanced. The only thing wrong with this piece is there's not enough room for a train to get through there because the tracks are too close to the side here. After she turned in the assignment and got it back, she made this mouse hole come over to here so that these tracks weren't, up against the wall. Beautiful piece, psychology major. I used to say to her, really? But she'll be she wants to do art therapy. This was a very good student, Olivia, and very incredibly fine cross-hatching. She drew a living room and then put these plants in, this lamp, the art supply box, and these just wonderful creatures. Asymmetrically balanced. This was a math major. Another one that I was like, hey, what are you doing? And she drew a room and did all the detail of her hardwood floor. And she had very basic bed and nightstand, almost a Japanese feel to it. She showed me a picture of the room. And she turned it into a mouse cage. So there's the surrealism. Big mouse on the bed, or is it a little mouse? We don't know. And then there's, some paraphernalia. I'm not sure what that is on the ground. There's this, as the desktop, has the water coming in, and then has different things hanging here and a rope for the mouse to play on. Asymmetrically balanced. This balances out this. This balances out this. So terrific job. The student was over the top good, but drew her living room. Drew everything in line first. She did the thumbnail first to know what's dark and light. But drew everything in line, made sure her perspective was correct, then knew what her lighting was and rendered it. And cross-hatching. These are a good clear indication of that here. 11 inches by 14 inches on a 15 by 20-inch board. That's the format, 11 by 14. In my perspective lectures of boxes and rooms, you'll see how to use the T-square. So if you can look at a room at home, then you're going to modify it by using the T-square and vanishing points. It's all in the perspective lectures. If we were in class, I'd be lecturing on perspective for an entire night one night. So yeah, there's good value contrast too. When you can squint and see everything, because when we squint, it gets rid of detail. When you can squint and see everything, that means it has good value contrast. There's no like values surrounding each other. So you squint, you can see everything. You squint, you can see everything. Clearly here, so much range of darks and middles and lights. It's wonderful. The light source can be, you can make it up. It can be overhead. This student had the light coming in from here, so there's a little cast shadow back here. But it can be overhead. It can be this one. She imagined the light coming this way, so there's a cast shadow behind the mouse here. This lighting was supposed to be here. See, this character is darker here and lighter here. This is one of the things about this piece. This is largely ambient lighting, but she had this lampshade on. Now, the thing to remember about that is if you want light to look like light, everything around it must be darker. So she could have gone a little darker here and here to make this light even look more like light. So the light source can be coming from you, like you have a miner's helmet on with a flashlight coming out of your helmet, and it's lighting the forms in the front. It can come from the left or the right, top left, top right, and then you start figuring out your cast shadows and your lighting. I know in Art 201 you studied lighting and perspective. Here I have, for your viewing pleasure, a handy dandy rendering techniques video with yours truly. And is it going to come up or what? I think maybe we'll get to watch an ad. So here I am talking about how to cross hatch. I did this cross hatch cone, then I explain how it's done. I explain the pencils. Watch this so you know how to cross hatch. Pay attention to everything that's said. Notice I have a sheet under my hand so my oily hands aren't getting on this board. We don't want our oily hands on top of something we've drawn, and we don't want our oily hands on top of the board because it makes the board get mushy. So always use a guard sheet. I really go through thoroughly how to do this cross-hatching business. Also in the same video, I talk about pencil blending. Now that's good for your thumbnails. When you want to blend something and get your darks and lights with just pencil blending. And then I explain how to do charcoal. And I explain a technique with, charcoal powder, but the same result can be achieved by having a dark drawing underneath and then rubbing vine charcoal across this. You can get a middle tone. So this one here, when I did this one, this was what happened when I spread the charcoal. And then I started erasing the light and adding the darks. But it's all in the video. So here you see I'm spreading the charcoal. And then I start erasing the light. It's all there for your viewing pleasure. This shows, now this is an illustration 2 student, but I want both semesters to pay attention to this. This is process. This student did this thumbnail, this color study, then this piece. In illustration 1 is required to do a thumbnail and of course the finished piece. Our thumbnails, our progression, or our thumbnail getting progressively better than the finished piece. As she was in illustration 2, black and white thumbnail, color study with no detail, finished piece. Process. Process is so important in illustration. I like to use the analogy of theater. I don't know how many of you are actors, how many thespians we have. But if you're going to do a play, you spend an enormous amount of time rehearsing. You don't just walk out there not knowing the lines, not knowing where to stand, not knowing what costume to wear, not knowing who your co-stars are. So this is similar to that. Before we do this, we have to know what we're doing. Because if we just draw on it and hope we get lucky, that usually doesn't work. So excuse me, process is so important. It's the one thing we really have to learn in this class, and it applies to so many classes in college, is the process. I'm going to get to 622 in a minute, 621. I have my late policy in every assignment. Assignments are dropped a half a letter grade for the first week they are late. So if it's 5 minutes late or a week late, it's a half a letter grade. So this project will be due at, I think it's 11 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday. Let's see, June 2nd at noon. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. March 3rd at 11. It's open till then. By March 3rd at 11, it has to be done. If it's done at 11:05, it's a week late. If it's finished 6.5 days later, it's a week late. So once it's late, it's a week late. Now you lose a half a letter grade, which is no big deal, especially if the piece is an A, it just goes to an A minus. But for each additional week that it's late, an additional letter grade is lost. So an A minus, an A turns into a B minus if it's 2 weeks late. It went from an A to an A minus to a B minus. 3 weeks late, it becomes a C minus. This is if it was an A to begin with. So it's so important with, a class like this, illustration, where we get paid to do, the idea is we're hired to draw for someone or something. And when they have expectations and they have a deadline, we got to meet them, because they will not, no employer out there who's going to hire an artist will tolerate you being late if they got to put something in print. Not only will they not pay you, they will never use you again, and they'll tell other publishers and art directors that this person's unreliable. So learning how to get the work done professionally and on time. Art directors always want to see a thumbnail of what you're doing before you start doing it. They're not just going to say, do it. They're going to see your process. So these are all called professional practices. Since we have a few weeks on this piece, there's no reason for everyone not to plan carefully and manage their time. Illustration involves intelligent planning process and time management. Don't get rush or procrastinate, and you have plenty of time to create successful work. So I'm kind of, rehashing what I just said. Follow the instructions carefully to ensure a successful illustration. Doing your own thing with these drawings will not fulfill the criteria. So I don't care if you're as good as Leonardo da Vinci and Pablo Picasso and Raphael all combined with how successful of an artist you are. If you don't meet the criteria for the assignment, you won't pass it. Most people would much rather work with somebody who's easy to work with and really good than somebody who's a pain in the butt and really, really good. Because really, really good doesn't matter if the person's late, doesn't show the thumbnails, and keeps trying to change what they were hired to do. Okay, 621 students. Draw an interior or exterior in 1, 2, or 3-point perspective. This can be done from observation or from your imagination. Superimpose a surrealist or fantasy scene on top of this. There should be some indication of narrative, either psychological or visual. An asymmetrically balanced composition is required. So far it's the same thing, but you guys in second and third semester get to make up your own interior or exterior. Illustration 1 must do an interior of a room. Illustration, here's an illustration 2 piece. This is an exterior. Here's an illustration 2 piece, an interior, but this person made this up. It wasn't their room. This person did an interior of their kitchen. This is arachnophobia. This is some major detail here. So keep in mind that where am I? Oh, that just uploaded. Keep in mind what? I kind of lost my train of thought there, but I'm going to blame that on my advanced age. So you will put a fantasy or surrealist scene in there also. There'll be some, and I said the rest of this. You'll determine a light source. When you've made a decision on how the entire piece will be created, lightly draw it in an 11 by 14 format on a 15 by 20 board and paint it or use markers or whatever the case may be. But you must have a game plan before you start the finished piece. Here's the rubric, which is pretty much the same rubric for every assignment, and each one of these is 20 points, 20%. And once in a while, the rubric might vary slightly if there's something specific about that assignment, but the rubric is generally this. And you find the rubric at the bottom of the assignment. There it is. There it is. So, we're not allowed to have meetings in this class because LA Community College District made it where if we have an asynchronous class, we can't have any meetings. And I said, hey, what's wrong if I have meetings and the people that can make it, and those who can't just watch the recording? And they said it's not equitable. And I said, why is it not equitable? And they said, well, some folks, if they sign up for an asynchronous class, since they're not required to be at a meeting, they simply can't make them sometimes. So if I have a meeting on Thursday at noon and some of y'all couldn't make it, you're at a disadvantage over those who could make it, because those who could make it get to ask questions and have more feedback than those who couldn't make it. That's why no meetings. That's why. I don't like no meetings, but I understand why they have the policy. If you want to meet me, office hour. A lot of times it's just you and me, one-on-one. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 people in line ahead of you or behind you, so there's a waiting room. But you get to talk to me and ask me questions. I'm in there every Thursday from 4 to 5. I'm going to go to the syllabus. So we'll get to both semesters here, but here's 620. There's no class meeting time because it's asynchronous. There's my name. Guys, you can call me Jerry. There's my email, but email me here. Course description: students will explore the visual language of illustration with an emphasis on composition, staging, drama, lighting, and storytelling. Art 620, students will be working in black and white all semester unless color is approved beforehand. This is the student learning outcome, which we're mandated by the state to put in. Course length, prerequisite: if you've not had 201, if you've not had drawing 1 at a college level, I can almost promise you you're going to struggle in this class. This is a prerequisite. You have to have it before you come in. Sometimes people get registered in and they didn't take it, and it shows. So don't try to do any shortcuts. We won't get anywhere that way. If we don't have a good foundation in drawing 1, we'll struggle in this class. Now, since we're online, there's no attendance. Attendance is taken in this class by your contribution to discussions and turning in of the assignments. If you're inactive for a couple of weeks, all I have to do is go to people here, and I can see it shows how active any of you are. When's the last time you logged in? If you're inactive for a couple of weeks, or even if you're active but you haven't contributed to discussions for a couple of weeks, you haven't turned in your project on time, I'll probably drop you for not being in class, because the way we're in class is by contributing to the discussions, turning in our assignments, and of course, once again, I can go here and see if you've been online. Some students will log in and then go bowling or something else and then come back and it looks like they were online for 5 hours when in fact they just turned it on. Okay, so meeting deadlines, folks, you got to do it. We're exclusively online. Attendance is marked by contributions to discussions and submission of projects. And then I'm just rehashing what I talked about here. If you don't log in for 2 consecutive weeks, you'll be dropped. In the professional world, clients have no patience for missed deadlines. Same goes for this class. So that doesn't mean I'm going to, chastise you and call you out if you don't get it done on time, but it affects your grade. So in the marketplace where we sell it, they simply won't pay us and won't hire us again because they need the work when they need the work. This is more about in class. If 2 class meetings are dropped, if 2 class meetings are missed, you can be dropped at my discretion. When we meet in the regular semester, we used to meet once a week. So missing 2 weeks in a row meant I didn't see somebody for 21 days. And then that's just too much time to have missed for me to be able to say, yeah, they're participating. This is for in class too. All this is in class. All of this is for in class. You don't have to worry about being absent. You can watch the recordings, and because I'll be making recordings every week, by the way. You can watch the recordings and you can look at the modules. All work must be original. Any work that is copied, plagiarized will constitute a fail for that project and could result in disciplinary action. Okay, plagiarism, I get it. It usually happens about once a semester with all the classes I teach. And it's the silliest thing we can do because we don't learn anything when we copy someone else's work. And if we get caught, and I'll catch you, I've caught people that have gotten stuff from other countries and put it in as their own. My wife's from Tehran, and I had her look up some cartoons from a newspaper in Tehran once, and I found the images a student from Tehran copied and put in their assignment. I had another student copy stuff from a newspaper in Israel. I had another student copy work from Pinterest, UK, United Kingdom. So if I think somebody's plagiarizing, I will catch them. So you're not going to do it, I know. But what does it mean? You steal and pass off the ideas of words or another as one's own. To use another's production, work of art, without crediting the source. To commit literary theft. To recite the Gettysburg Address in a speech class and say it's yours, for instance. To present a new and original idea or product derived from an existing source. In other words, plagiarism is an act of fraud. It involves both stealing someone else's work and lying about it afterward. So what happens if you plagiarize? What happens if someone does? What's happened in the past? A lot of times I'll kind of contact the person and say, hey, is this yours? Sometimes I'll kind of give them an out, unless they've been giving me trouble all semester. And then if they say, yeah, it's mine. How dare you ask me that? And then I'll say, you sure? And they say, yeah. Then I'll show them that I found the image somewhere else. They don't say anything back to me because they know they're busted. And then I have to report it to the college. I'm supposed to report it to the college as soon as it happens. But I report it to the college. They put it in your file and it sits there with LACCD. And I don't think anything happens after that. You fail the project, by the way. But I don't think anything happens after that. Now, let's say you plagiarized an illustration, then you went to speech class and you got a speech, the Gettysburg Address by Abraham Lincoln, and you read it and said it's your speech. That's plagiarism. They bust you. You have 2 counts of plagiarism in the school. They kick us out of the school and they make the plagiarism a public record for any university you may try to get into. It's in your transcripts. In other words, just don't do it. It's not worth it. You'd be surprised how arrogant some people can be when they plagiarize. I've already busted them when I'm asking them about it. I already know. And I've had people, get defensive with me and say that they're going to report me to the dean and this and that. And I'm like, well, I'm reporting you to the dean, actually. So there's that. All work must be completed to pass the course. You have to do every project. Now, with the late policy, you might say, I turned in a project 5 weeks late. I failed. Why do I have to turn it in? Well, you get credit for doing it, turning it in, but you don't get points for it. You have to complete every project to pass the course. Here's a really cool book that just talks about the business aspects of illustration. Recommended activity if you are in first semester, draw a lot. Your sketchbook from observation, from your imagination. Second semester, draw a lot and practice painting techniques. You're an artist, draw a lot. You don't need a notebook for your assignments. A sketchbook is recommended, actually. So I recommend an 8.5 by 11 inch sketchbook for taking notes, lecture notes, and for doing your thumbnails. If you have a sketchbook from your drawing 1 class that still has a lot of pages in it, that's fine. You need 18 by 24, 80-pound weight drawing paper to work out your larger scale drawings on. A large pad of tracing paper is recommended but not required. Sometimes we want to trace something and transfer it. Several 15 by 20 inch white cold press illustration boards, construction paper for covering projects, assorted pencils, I listed there again, a kneaded eraser, a pink pearl eraser, assorted black pens, assorted stumps, drafting or artist tape, transparent push pins. If painting, assorted acrylic paint or gouache, possibly watercolors, assorted brushes, colored pencils for doing preliminaries. They're great for preliminaries. For your thumbnails, color pencils are. T-square, straight edge is just a ruler. X-Acto knife, workable spray fixative, 8.5 by 11 inch sketchbook. And then, especially when we're on campus, it's nice to be able to carry your supplies in a box. It's just for your own convenience. You don't have to get that. I recommend it. Okay, There's the pencils. Let's look at these boards and let's look at some of these other things, okay? So I'm going to go here and go to Google. That's what I call it. And let's look at kneaded erasers. A kneaded eraser I recommend getting because especially if you're going to work in charcoal for a future project, because it lifts the charcoal out real nicely. Okay, it's not a harsh eraser, but it lifts things out real nicely. So I recommend a kneaded eraser. Then I also recommend a pink pearl or a white or a blue eraser for harder to erase things. Beware with these. If they're brittle and old or have any dirt on them, you're gonna streak your piece, and then you can't get rid of that big pink streak going across your drawing, and it's so disappointing for you if you do it. So always make sure you erase it down to fresh eraser. Test it on another piece of paper, make sure it's not streaking, then use it. That goes for any of these erasers with color. If they get hard and brittle, they'll just leave a streak. You've all had it happen with your in your academic classes where you went to erase a word and you got a big pink streak on it from that eraser at the end of your pencil. Blending stumps. You don't have to get these, but they're good to have for blending your thumbnails. So tortillons and blending stumps. So they look like this, various sizes. They're great. These are rolled paper. They're compressed paper. That's all they are. Let's look at a T-square. T-square can save you hundreds of hours because it does so much of the work for us in terms of perspective. I like an 18-inch metal with the inches on it. That's what I prefer. But I don't like these with the plastic edges because they're not conducive to what we're doing. But 18 inches or longer is real convenient for you to use. If they don't have inches on them, it's not as convenient, but you can still make horizontal and vertical lines with them easily. So T-square, something like this. Let's look at workable fixative. You don't have to buy this stuff, folks, but if you buy it, if you use it, it makes there's different brands here. If you use it, it makes the charcoal or pencil adhere to the paper more. It doesn't laminate it, so you can still work into it, but it can still get smeared too. But it's not nearly as smearable. If you use fixative, set your artwork upright against a wall, not on the ground flat. Make sure your nozzle is clean and not spitting. Make sure there's no wind. Spray top to bottom on your piece slowly. If you want to do a second coat, and there's a heat wave like now, here on February 8th, it's 81 degrees. 5 minutes, you can do another coat. If you want to do a third coat, wait 5-10 minutes. It's got to dry before each coat. It also, by spray fixing it, it not only makes the charcoal or graphite or pastel be more intact into the paper, but it also brings the values out more. Not required to get it though. Let me see what else I had in here that I might want to pull up a... You don't have to get transparent push pins. We use them in class to put our artwork up, but they're good to have if you want to pin your work up at home and look at it from a distance objectively. Oh, assorted black pens. So some of you will probably be using pens later. So let's look at, I like Micron pens, and I put PEMs. So they come in sets like this, and this set they have very, very thin, and they get progressively thicker. That's a brush pen, and that's kind of like the thickness of a small tip Sharpie. So a kit like this can be really good. But if you like one pen a lot, and you're going to run out of it, and you run out of it, don't buy another kit, just buy that pen again. If you really like, 03, 05, and 01, and just want to use those, go ahead. If you want to buy an individual brush pen, go ahead. The point is, by buying the kit, you save some money, and they're archival, which means they're supposed to last forever, and they are waterproof. So I like Microns. I also like Staedtler. I know that I'm misspelling it. Staedtler pens. And they are the same quality as the Microns. You want to get black. I love the color pens too. Where's a kit of black? Come on. Okay, they look like these, except they have caps on them. And they have the variety of tips too. Staedtler is a very, very good product with a whole variety of tips. They're waterproof and archival. Some of you may have had experience with Crowquill pens and you want to dip your pen into ink and draw like that. I don't object to that as long as you know what you're doing. You be careful. You practice first. Estimated homework and class hours, about 9 hours per week. Because if we were in class, we'd be there 4.5 hours, and I'm allowed to ask for as many hours outside of class as in class. So if you're spending less than that amount of time on your projects, or way less than that amount of time, and you're not happy with your projects, a lot of time it has to do with how much time we invested. So we need to be invested in time. We have to follow the instructions. We have to be focused. If we do those things, we get better results. It's the only art supply store left in the area. That's from my house. I live in Woodland Hills. It's about 15 minutes in Agora Hills. There's the address and phone number. I'm sure you can go into the store. When the pandemic first happened, they had curbside. They brought it out to you. But it's a good art supply store. But these days with Amazon Prime and other ways of ordering online, I order something from Amazon Prime from my bedroom and I walk out the front door and it's there. Not that quick, but it almost seems like that. You can get a lot of stuff the next day. I know the subscription cost, but you also get the Amazon TV if you have the subscription for getting your packages quickly. Here's the topics of assignments. So everything's kind of broken down. This is today. We're introducing the class, passing out the syllabi, or this week. Discuss first project, get your art supplies. What would happen next week if we were in class this week and we were in class next week, I do all this lecture on perspective, composition, value, and color. So I want you to watch those. We work on the perspective project here and continue putting in thumbnails. The first project is due on March, whatever the day that Thursday. So that's the week of February 28th. So that Thursday is March 3rd. So this first project is due March 3rd. We introduce the second assignment. We work on that, introduce the third assignment. Work on that, introduce the fourth assignment. Spring break. In addition, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks on this assignment, on the fairy tale assignment. I'll cover all this when we get to it, don't worry. It's a 3-week project that I turn into a 4-week project because I don't want spring break to be considered a week of school. But if you want to spend 4 weeks on it, you can. And we work on this project. It may not be alliteration. It could be something else this semester. And then we work on the final project, and our final critique is Thursday, June 2nd, and we go dancing merrily off into the sunset. Perspective College board rules are here, and anybody who, behaves themselves, read it, but it's basically they're covering their bases in case somebody does something that's like, nope, can't do that on campus. Can't do that in our classes. So that's what that's there for. 621, your syllabus is right here. And the majority of the difference between your syllabus and the 620 syllabus is you'll be working with color. And I allow you some flexibility when we get to different projects. So when we get to the political cartoon project, for instance, if you've done it in the past with me, sometimes I'll let you come up with something else you want to do. When we get to this week where the alliteration would be done, or or whatever assignment I put in there, if you want to introduce an idea that you want to do, I consider letting you do something you want to do in second semester. So that's some of the big difference between the two semesters. You're working in color and you get more freedom. But your supply list is here, and you really want to pay attention to what color mediums you're going to use to get those when we create the finished piece. And I really do recommend getting colored pencils for second semester to do your thumbnails in colored pencils, but not the finished piece. Okay, we're getting through this. So that's illustration 2's module, the shell. This was one of my great students, Molly Earl, and she did this final project in watercolor. Pretty cool. Okay. This on illustration 1, come on. This image I drew, this is cross-hatching with pencil, and I used everything from a 9H to a 9B on this one. So that's a big piece, and it's all cross-hatched. And I think this one's quite old. Let's see. Home, I think it's 2011 or 12. I think it's like 10 years old. But 10 years old to me, 10 years to me is like, 10 weeks. Yep, 2012. That's all very refined cross-hatching with gradations, darks and lights and middles. Cast shadows, by the way, are always transparent. Something to think about. So I think that kind of wraps it up. Well, I do want to talk briefly about, what is illustration. And illustration, if we're going to put it into a sentence, is storytelling with pictures. So we're trying to make something visual that people understand what's happening, whatever it is we're supposed to be illustrating. Especially if we're hired to do something, and they said, I want you to illustrate children playing on a playground while Godzilla's sitting next to them drinking out of a sippy cup. So you'd have to illustrate that. So it's storytelling with pictures, but sometimes the picture is very specific, and other times it's more about a mood or an essence. So everything runs the gamut of everything from background for animation to caricatures to books, magazines, children's books, newspapers, editorial cartoons, storyboards, etc. I think that's going to kind of wrap it up. I'll be making recordings every week, and they will be available to you on a weekly basis, and I'll let you know when I make them. I'll usually be making, our recordings, except for this one, you're going to find our recordings that I make every week in your section by clicking Zoom. And then I'm going to redirect it. And then when you get here, you go to Cloud Recordings. Now, there are none yet for this semester, but if I say I did a recording on Thursday, please watch it, you go in here, go to Cloud Recordings, and you'll find it. So, you can, let's do it again. I'll do it again just to be a nice guy. To get to any recordings I have, go to Zoom. Cloud Recordings. Ta-da! Okay. That is it. Thanks for sitting through this lengthy welcome video, and I look forward to communicating with all of you, and I look forward to a great semester. Work hard, manage your time, do the best you can, and come June, you're going to be so much better at making art than you are now, and you work well, you end up with your A, and you have a happy summer. Whenever I'd have a good semester in college, which I always did because I was scared to death to not do well, it made my summer and winter break so much better. Okay, thanks for your time.